The War of the Last Alliance. The War of the Last Alliance was a cataclysmic event in the history of Middle-earth, marking the end of the Second Age. It was a battle of unprecedented scale, uniting elves, men, and dwarves against the dark forces of Sauron. This story delves into the origins, the key battles, and the sacrifices that defined this pivotal moment in Tolkien's Legendarium. 1. Setting the stage, the rise of Sauron. The shadow of Sauron had loomed large over Middle-earth for centuries. After the destruction of his master Morgoth in the First Age, Sauron sought to establish dominion over the Free Peoples. His forging of the One Ring in the fires of Mount Doom was a masterstroke. A tool to control the other rings of power and their bearers. As the power of Mordor grew, the world descended into fear. Sauron's strategy was one of deception. Disguised as Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, he gained the trust of the elves and helped them forge the rings of power. However, his betrayal was revealed when he created the One Ring, binding the others to his will. The elves resisted, but Sauron's growing influence among men and other races led to widespread devastation. In response to Sauron's rising threat, Elendil, a great leader of the Dúnedain, and his sons Isildur and Anarion, fled the downfall of Númenor and established the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor. Meanwhile, the elves, led by Gil-galad and Elrond, prepared for war, knowing that only a united front could hope to defeat Sauron. The call to arms, as Sauron's armies swept across Middle-earth, razing cities and enslaving peoples, an alliance was forged between elves and men. This last alliance, led by Gil-galad and Elendil, represented the final hope of resistance. Dwarves from Khazad-dûm, under the leadership of Durin's-Line, pledged their aid, and even the Ents stirred in the distant forests. The preparations for war were monumental. The elves, with their unmatched craftsmanship, forged weapons and armor imbued with ancient magic. Men, drawing on the strength of their Númenorian lineage, assembled vast armies. The dwarves, though fewer in number, brought their indomitable spirit and expertise in siege warfare. Scouts and messengers were dispatched across the lands to rally support and coordinate the march to Mordor. The journey to Mordor was fraught with peril. The combined forces had to navigate treacherous terrain, contend with ambushes by Sauron's minions, and overcome internal divisions. The alliance's leaders worked tirelessly to maintain unity, knowing that their survival depended on cooperation. 3. The Battle of Dagorlad. The first major confrontation took place on the plains of Dagorlad, just outside the Black Gate of Mordor. The battle raged for days, a cacophony of swords clashing and war cries echoing across the battlefield. The forces of the Last Alliance fought valiantly against overwhelming odds. Facing hordes of orcs, trolls, and men who had fallen under Sauron's sway, the battlefield was a sea of chaos. Elven archers, positioned on high ground, unleashed volleys of arrows that darkened the sky, cutting down waves of enemies. Men, clad in shining armor, formed shield walls and advanced with grim determination. The dwarves, wielding mighty axes, carved paths through the enemy ranks with unmatched ferocity. The might of Gil-galad and Elendil was undeniable. Armed with Aeglos and Narsil, respectively, they led their forces with unmatched courage. Gil-galad's spear was said to burn with an inner light, striking fear into the hearts of Sauron's minions. Elendil's presence was a beacon of hope, inspiring his troops to press on despite the odds. Despite heavy losses, the alliance triumphed, forcing the enemy to retreat behind the Black Gate. The siege of Barad-dûr, with the forces of Sauron driven back, the alliance laid siege to Barad-dûr, Sauron's dark tower. For 7 long years, the siege dragged on, testing the endurance of all involved. Supplies dwindled, morale wavered, and the toll of constant skirmishes mounted. The siege was a battle of attrition. Sauron's forces, though trapped within the Black Gate, launched relentless counterattacks to break the siege. The Alliance's engineers constructed massive siege engines, battering rams, and catapults to breach the fortress walls. The elves' knowledge of ancient lore proved invaluable in countering the dark sorcery employed by Sauron's minions. During this time, Elrond and Isildur emerged as key figures. Elrond, serving as Gil-galad's lieutenant, coordinated strategies and maintained unity among the diverse armies. His wisdom and foresight helped the alliance avoid costly mistakes. Isildur, mourning the loss of his brother Anarion in battle, vowed to see Sauron's tyranny ended. His grief fueled his determination, making him a fierce warrior and leader. The siege culminated in a final, desperate assault when Sauron himself emerged from his fortress. Towering and wreathed in flame, he wielded the One Ring, a force of unparalleled power. His presence on the battlefield was like a storm, his blows shattering weapons and scattering soldiers like leaves in the wind. The fall of Sauron. In the climactic battle, Gil-galad and Elendil faced Sauron directly. Their combined might was formidable, but the Dark Lord proved nearly unstoppable. In a heroic act of sacrifice, Gil-galad and Elendil fell, their lives extinguished in the fight against evil. As Sauron loomed victorious, Isildur seized the hilt of his father's shattered sword, Narsil. With a single stroke, he cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand, severing the Dark Lord's connection to his physical form. Sauron was defeated, his armies scattered, and his dominion broken. The battlefield fell silent, the weight of the moment sinking in as the remnants of the alliance stood amidst the ruins of war. 6. The aftermath. Despite the victory, the triumph of the last alliance was bittersweet. The loss of Gil-galad and Elendil left a void in leadership. Isildur, now the bearer of the One Ring, succumbed to its corrupting influence, choosing to keep it rather than destroy it. This decision sowed the seeds for future conflicts, as the ring would resurface in the Third Age to threaten Middle-earth once more. The surviving soldiers of the last alliance returned to their homes, forever changed by the horrors they had witnessed. The Elves, weary of war, began their gradual departure from Middle-earth, sailing west to the Undying Lands. Men, now tasked with rebuilding their shattered kingdoms, entered a new age of uncertainty. The scars of the war were visible across the land. The plains of Dagorlad remained desolate, a grim reminder of the cost of victory. The ruins of Barad-dûr stood as a testament to the alliance's determination, a symbol of hope and resilience. Legacy of the War of the Last Alliance was a turning point in the history of Middle-earth. It marked the end of the Second Age and the beginning of the Third, a time when the shadow of Sauron would once again rise. The sacrifices made by elves, men, and dwarves in the war became the stuff of legend, inspiring future generations to stand against evil. The shattered sword Narsil was reforged as Andúril, a symbol of hope and renewal. The story of the Last Alliance served as a reminder of the strength found in unity and the enduring power of courage and sacrifice. Songs were sung, and tales were told, ensuring that the deeds of the Alliance would never be forgotten. The War of the Last Alliance is a tale of heroism and tragedy, of triumph and loss. It is a testament to the resilience of the free peoples of Middle-earth and their unwavering determination to resist the forces of darkness. Though the scars of the war lingered for centuries, the unity forged in those desperate days remained a beacon of hope for a world forever changed.